So this is going to be a brief video to talk more about the low-code editor and the no-code interface. My objective here is create a little app that says hello. So I have a field here called name and a button. Let's rename it to greet. And what I want to do is that the user will type their name here, and when they press say hello, a dialog message will just say hi to them. To do that, we are going to use actions from the low-code editor. This is the low-code icon. So clicking here activates the editor. You can also click it here. You can see that since this column is grayed out, it means that neither the screen, nor the field called name, nor the button called greet, none of them have got any no code associated with them. So let's open it by clicking here. Oh, you can also use the contextual menu and edit low code. So this is the low code editor. When you first open it, it might be minimized like this in the middle of the screen, but I use a very small laptop, so I'd rather have it maximized. The actions are divided into categories. When you select a category, the action appears on this action list. Clicking any action will show the help for the action here, so that you can learn more about it. Before we select actions, we need to select an event. An event is the trigger, what will execute this list of actions. So we want that to happen when the user clicks the button or touches it. That's the mouse click. So we can just double click here or press the plus button. And then we added a mouse click event. So what will happen when the mouse is clicked on that element? You can see that we are editing the greet button. So what we need to do is first pick the name that was typed in the field. Then we need to make a greeting message such as hello, comma, and the name, and then we need to display it. To get the value from the field, we can use a utility. So we can click in utility and go, where is get element value. So once you start using Apply, you kind of learn where things are. So like I know what this script will look like, and I'm going to show you also another way of doing it. But first, let's get the value. So we need to get the value that was typed into the field called name, and we are going to place it on a variable. A variable is a container, basically a place to store data. And let's select the variable called name. As you can see, I've done this app before, so it already knows this variable. But I could just type a new name here if I wanted. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use this combine value action to combine hello with a space with the name we picked from that field. So variable and name. And we're going to place it into a greeting. And then we're going to display it. And this is just the choices are the buttons that show on the dialog. We're just going to have one like called OK. So we can click here to apply, and that will save the low code actions we selected. And now you can see that this is darkened. So it means that this button has low code associated with it. Switching to play mode. Yeah, it works. Now, let me show you another way of creating the exact same script. I'll just duplicate this button by option dragging it. I'll click here to edit the low code, and I'm going to restart it. So just delete the event and create a new one. After you use Apply for some time, you're going to start getting familiar with the actions. And just browsing through the categories and actions might become tedious. Another way of doing that is just clicking the plus button here, and that creates an empty action. And then you can just start typing the action name, like we know the action. So the first one we used was get element value. So we can go get element, and it's already there. So we can just select it. Then after that, we use the combine values and then an answer dialog. And then you just configure them. And I'm gonna give this a different hello so that we can see it's different. And then we save it. Switch into play mode by pressing escape. And there we have it. So basically, let's go back to the low code editor for me to show you some stuff. These are the collection of actions that we'll execute. If you want more space to work on your actions, you can use this first button to collapse the sidebar. And that gives you like a full canvas to work with your actions. Especially if you're using the plus button to add new actions, this is very handy. You can see that we're creating some variables here. The second button is a variable viewer. It's like the data viewer. You can see the variables you created and what content they have. It's a very good way to debug your application. If we had something wrong in our code, such as, for example, let me just show you. I'm going to introduce a bug. See, I created like a field, but I didn't configure output. So first hint is that mouse click is grayed out. That means that mouse click is incomplete. And the bug button is now red. If you hover your mouse, you see output must be defined. Once we define it, then it goes green, and this goes black, means that the script is complete and acceptable. So this is the low-code interface. This is what you use to create your actions, and that gives behavior to your app. Let me show you the no-code interface. And it's better we do that on another screen. So sometimes some elements have properties that would be too cumbersome to configure in the property inspector. They're more complex. They wouldn't fit this right side pane. For example, let's pick a table. This is like a spreadsheet, like your Excel or numbers. And it can be connected to a database. We have a table here called contacts that we used before in other videos. And it has some data in it, some bogus contacts. So we basically want to show them here. We do not need to use low code for that. We can just configure the table element using no code. To do that, you can click the no code button here, and then you can configure it up, such as selecting contacts and selecting which columns you want, such as just name and email. Once you do that, it's all connected. And this is live. If you alter the contact here, it actually alters the database. Let me just show you. And if we go to the data viewer, you can see it changed. So Imagine if you had to configure the database and everything here on the property inspector. That property inspector would become quite long. So that's why you have no code to configure more complex properties of an element. Different elements have different no-code interfaces. They are unique to each element, and you can explore more of that in our documentation at docs.apply.io. This has been a brief video talking about the low-code editor and the no-code interface. If you have any doubts, reach out in our forums at forum.apply.io. See you soon!